Today we're going to talk about Reddit marketing. I'm going to tell you exactly what it is, how you can do it, why you should take on doing it for yourself as well as for clients. And I'm going to give you a few tips on how to get started if you're completely new to Reddit marketing. Let's go ahead and get started right now. So why are we marketing on Reddit and why are we choosing to do it now? That's probably what you're thinking as you're seeing more and more people talking about using Reddit for marketing. Some people are also just calling this Reddit SEO. It's essentially the same thing, just people calling it by different names. So why are we using Reddit? Well, number one, we know that Google loves Reddit, right? They made that partnership deal back in 2024. Resulted in Reddit being everywhere in the search results. Basically anything you search for, you're going to find Reddit discussions towards the top. LLMs also love Reddit. That's why you see Reddit showing up, in so many, results like Perplexity, Gemini, Claude, ChatGPT, things like that. OpenAI actually also did a deal with Reddit back in 2024. One thing to note, though, as I am recording this, recently Reddit did sue Perplexity, so I don't know how that's going to affect Reddit results showing up in the AI results, in Perplexity. We've also seen actually the number of Reddit results go down in ChatGPT. We don't know if that's going to continue to be a trend or not. Even if it is going to continue being the trend, the fact remains that Google is prioritizing placing Reddit results in the search results, and those results are being used to populate the AI overviews, and the AI answers that we're getting in the Google search results. So that's something to keep in mind. And if you are doing, any type of SEO or reputation management for clients or for yourself and your own brand, Reddit makes it super, super easy because it is such a big, trusted site, that Google does love. And towards the bottom of the screen here, you will notice just a traffic graph that I pulled in from SEMrush that is showing how the traffic that Reddit is getting in organic search has changed. We can see basically when they started signing these partnerships with Google and OpenAI, search traffic really just exploded for them. I think this was around mid-2024. It has shown us just a slight dip recently from its all-time high, but I think that we can all agree that it's not really going to go anywhere in terms of showing up in the Google results. So I touched on some of the benefits of Reddit marketing, but let's kind of go through this. And shout out to anyone who's watching this who's also an 80s kid like me. Got the Super Mario 3 Warp Zone screenshot here. Basically, that's because I see Reddit marketing as kind of, going to that warp zone and jumping ahead of everyone else in the game, right? Because Reddit is an authority site. It ranks incredibly well. You can usually get rankings within just 24 hours. And that is going to be for, the post that you are creating on Reddit. Now, the great thing about that is if you are linking back to a website, then you're also going to start getting traffic to your website from Reddit within 24 hours because as soon as it's ranking, you're getting traffic. Of course, you're also going to start getting traffic just from people who are already in Reddit and accessing, your posts and your comments from Reddit. Now, one of the great things about using Reddit for marketing is it kind of removes that barrier to entry in terms of entering into niches or going after keywords that are very high competition. If you were just starting out a brand for, I don't know, let's think of something popular like maybe coffee, right? You're starting maybe a coffee brand. Coffee is probably, relatively competitive. I don't know, I'm not in that niche, but I'm just assuming that it is. So ranking organically in Google would take your brand a while, but then you go to Reddit, you're ranking overnight with that thread, you're getting traffic already. So that is why basically it's great for high competition niches. Now, I do want to point out though that if you're, supplements, I know is a niche that is very high competition. I don't think you're going to have quite as easy of a time with it in Reddit. Simply because basically everyone knows, how well those affiliate programs pay out. So it is actually competitive within Reddit itself. So I wouldn't go after something like that. Maybe you're making a new SaaS to compete with something like Instantly. Then in that case, I see that as probably being pretty high competition, cold email platforms. Reddit would be a great place to start marketing a new idea like that. Now, here's the other thing. If you will notice when you are searching for something in Google, it's not, it's never just a single Reddit post that is showing up in the search results, right? Usually, it's like in that little discussion section, and there's like 3 or 4 different things that are showing up from Reddit. Well, the great thing about that is that gives you basically 3 or 4 opportunities to rank, right? You don't have to settle for ranking just one Reddit thread on page 1 when you can rank 3 or 4. So essentially, you can control all of those with your own brand. And even if something is ranking on there right now that, isn't your brand, you can kind of control that narrative by, having more accounts, to kind of lift up your main post there so that you can work on replacing what is currently showing up in Google with your own post that promotes your own brand. This is also a great way to, go about reputation management if you're doing that for clients or for your own brand. Like I said, it lets you control the narrative. I found this is a great way also to go after those best keywords when you're doing affiliate marketing. And like we touched on a minute ago, Reddit helps you with AI SEO, right? Which means, you're getting in those AI overviews, the AI answers, you're getting in the LLMs like, ChatGPT, Perplexity, and so on like that. And I think the other thing that's really a big benefit for Reddit marketing is actually not a benefit for everyone, which is Reddit marketing is actually hard for a lot of people. Like if you have never really used Reddit a lot or don't really know it all that well, then it can be something that's kind of like got a bit of a learning curve, right? Because Reddit, it's not just your normal, forum on the internet. Every subreddit has its mods and things like that. So there are some people who try it out and declare that it's over just because it's hard for them to crack. So if you are someone who basically is really familiar with Reddit and knows how to, play within the rules there and see real results, then, you can actually do this, like I said, as an agency, offer it as a service, do it for yourself and your own brands. Or, you can hire people who basically have those types of skills. It really just depends, like I said, because for some people it is actually difficult. So let's touch a little more on that barrier to entry that I was just speaking about. You'll see an image here showing from Reddit showing this account has been banned. I've been on Reddit probably 15 years or so I have a lot of long user history, and even I occasionally when I've been creating and warming up new accounts have gotten banned for spamming certain communities. So this is something that can and does happen. So if you've never used Reddit before, one thing you're quickly going to discover is that, a lot of Redditors, they kind of have like their own language and their own inside jokes in these subreddits. And that's something that you're really going to want to be able to pick up on before you basically really get to work doing your Reddit marketing. Otherwise, you're going to fail, pretty much immediately. Redditors are also pretty savvy in terms of, being able to tell if you're, basically they're just peddling bullshit, if you're there just to market to them. They're also really good at telling that you've used ChatGPT for your comments and they will call you out on it. Another thing to keep in mind is that every subreddit, like I said, does have its own individual moderators. Some moderators are more ban happy than others, so depending on what niche you're in and which subreddits you are targeting for your Reddit marketing, you may discover that you're having a really challenging time getting any posts approved because the mods are so ban happy. There are even some subreddits where basically the people who are the mods are there just to promote their own services. So if any posts that come up that are for competing services, they will immediately basically get rid of so that you are not offering up competition to them. So just know that is something that may happen as you are trying to do Reddit marketing. And like I said, referencing back to this screenshot that this account has been banned, if you are not, approaching Reddit marketing carefully, you can end up losing a whole account. And that is really unfortunate when you have been working on, building up the karma of that account over a long period of time. Karma is actually one of the reputation metrics that is used by Reddit to show you basically the strength of a user account. Basically, the longer you are on Reddit, the more you're posting and commenting and things like that, the more karma you're going to build. And that is a sign of trust on Reddit. Lower karma accounts are more likely to get banned, when trying to do marketing. So that's why you have to also work on building up your own aged accounts. The other thing to know about doing Reddit marketing is that you can't do it with just 1 or 2 Reddit accounts. You're going to need multiple accounts in order to do this right. At a minimum, I think you're going to need at least 20 different accounts. If you are in higher competition niches, or if you want to have basically a whole stable of accounts that you can use to upvote your own comments and things like that, you're going to need a lot more accounts. And if you basically are thinking of offering it as a service, like I do through my agency, you're going to need, at least 100 accounts, probably more. But here's the thing. You can't just, sit at your laptop at home and make all of these accounts, on the same computer from the same IP address, because they will get basically all associated together, and then you'll end up losing all of your accounts, right? So here's how to get it right if you want to try doing Reddit marketing on your own. I recommend that you basically identify the subreddits that you want to start doing your posting in and your commenting in, and then basically just spend a few weeks getting to know those subreddits, right? This is especially important for people who are, pretty new to Reddit. If you've been using Reddit for a while like me, you probably don't need quite this long to get to know these, subreddits. But for most people, I think, people who are not, Reddit users, or even people who are just casual Reddit users, you definitely want to put in that time to get to know, what kind of posts do well here, what kind of language are people using, things like that. And like I said, you definitely want to do this with a minimum of 20 accounts. Those accounts do need to be aged. So when I was talking about karma before, that's what I'm talking about. You need to grow these accounts over time, and I've seen people do things like try to run up the karma on their account in like a month so they can just go crazy in month 2, right? You don't want to do that either. You really want to go about this the right way, because this is, Reddit marketing is incredibly powerful if you get it right. So you don't want to get it wrong and have to start over. I recommend, like I said, spending, 3 months or so building up the account to get some age before you start doing that marketing with it. Again, like I said, at least 20 accounts. If you're planning on doing reputation management, you're going to need hundreds of accounts, a minimum of 100, but more is better. And like I said, you're going to need a unique IP address for every account. And if you're thinking well, how the heck do I do that, right? You're going to have to get yourself an anti-detect browser. This is a non-negotiable if you're going to do Reddit marketing the right way. And you want to be successful if you're going to put in all this time to try this, right? So like I said, you definitely need an anti-detect browser. I'll leave some links in the comments below of the 2 that I use myself as well as for my agency. They are the ones that I have been basically using with Reddit accounts. And I have basically hundreds of Reddit accounts that I have aged myself and grown. So I know for a fact that these 2 anti-detect browsers that I use will work for you for this purpose. Another thing to think about when you're basically coming up with your plan of how you're going to do this Reddit marketing, I think where a lot of people go wrong is they think, I'm just going to go in, I'm going to make all these posts and all these different subreddits, promoting my brand. That's not how you do it, right? Your most valuable assets when you are doing your Reddit marketing is going to be commenting on other posts, right? So the most valuable posts for you to comment on are going to be the ones that you find that are already ranking in Google, on page 1 for your target keywords. You want to look at those and see if you can leave a comment on those. Sometimes you're going to discover that the commenting is closed, or maybe it's closed to new comments, but you can leave replies to old comments. So if you can't leave any comments at all, then that is when you want to basically focus on making new posts that you can work on getting onto page 1 in the place of those existing posts. If you can reply to comments only, that's fine. Try to reply to whatever is ranking towards the top, though, so that you will be seen, one of the first comments, towards the top there. But like I said, comments are definitely more important, and don't stop at just the pages that are ranking on page 1, because People within the Reddit ecosystem are going to see those posts. So it doesn't matter if it's not on page one, it's still going to get seen. It's still going to get clicks. You're still going to get traffic. If you're selling something, you're still going to get sales. And you really want to basically make sure you're spreading yourself out so that you can be everywhere within the relevant, posts and comments and whatever that are basically where your ICP is, your ideal customer profile, right? So if you are selling, maybe you have a link building agency, right? You're going to want to make sure that you are basically in every, subreddit and every, thread that is relevant where you can make comments, promoting your link building agency. And another thing that people really miss out on when doing Reddit marketing is unlinked mentions. Like I see people saying, why would I do that if I'm not getting the link back to my site for people to go to? Well, the answer here is really simple. If you are leaving your brand in a comment unlinked and people see it, what are they going to do? They're going to do a branded search for you. That is exactly what you want to send positive signals to Google, basically to help, lift your actual website up in the search results. So that is why unlinked mentions are also very, very valuable. For me as well, for my projects as well as the stuff that we're doing for clients at my agency, what we are doing the fewest of are posts. We're doing the most of, with comments, then unlinked mentions, then posts. And we're getting really great results. And so that is the strategy that I recommend to anyone who wants to get started with this. I feel like if you go in too heavy with the number of posts, then it looks like you're obviously spamming. You're obviously trying to promote stuff. You don't want a mod, looking at your profile and seeing that maybe the last 10 things you did on Reddit were all basically the same post promoting the same product in different subreddits. That is definitely a one-way ticket to getting banned and getting your posts removed. Another thing to think about is, Reddit doesn't send you an email and be like, hey, we've banned you, or anything like that. So you can have an account that you can still log into, still leave comments for, but you are banned and you don't know it, right? So what you need to do, maybe once a week, maybe, once every 2 weeks, depending on what kind of time you have and how many accounts you are managing, is go in an incognito window, look at your profile, see if you have that little image that was on the last slide there showing your account is banned. And maybe your account isn't banned, but you will notice that, you got this shadow ban in the subreddits, and so that you've posted in, and your comments are not actually showing up on the post that you've left them on. When that happens, you know that you cannot use that account again, right, for the subreddits that you were using it in. And obviously, if your account is banned, you can't use it at all, period. What I like to do when I've had an account get shadow banned or even banned is just start a whole new account to grow, right? I have grown enough accounts that I don't have to actually, go out and start one and then wait, because I have other accounts, in my portfolio here. But if you're doing this, small scale on your own, I feel like once an account gets burned on any part of Reddit, just get rid of it, get a new IP address, with your anti-detect browser, start everything over. Do not use, the one that you were using before, and do not use the same IP address again, because they will connect to those accounts. Recently, Reddit has actually started sending stuff to moderators of subreddits when you post from an account that they have associated with a previously banned account. And so that makes it basically where mods are going to be like, oh, hey, maybe I should pay more attention to this comment. Maybe I shouldn't, let it get through, things like that. Another thing to think of, which I did not remember to put on this particular slide, is once you get enough karma on your account, you can create your own subreddits. This means you basically have unlimited power, right, over what gets posted in that subreddit. So then you can, basically go crazy posting whatever you want. I like to do this basically for some of my own, projects that I have. And then basically what I will do is I will maybe send some PBN links, or maybe 301 redirect an age domain to particular posts or things like that. That way they get, basically that little authority bump that pushes them up to being shown in the search results in Google. So that's just something else that you can do. Reddit is also great if you are focusing on AI SEO, right? So you're trying to, get your website or your client's websites to show up in AI answers, AI overviews, any of the LLMs like ChatGPT, Perplexity, Gemini, Claude. Just because, like, I mentioned earlier, so many of these things are being pulled directly from Reddit, that basically just doing Reddit marketing show up in Google just, naturally results in you getting, more visibility in these AI answers. But if you are focusing on AI SEO, I do want to point out that Reddit marketing is basically only part of what it takes, to maximize your visibility in AI SEO. So I'll have another video coming out, in a week or so on doing AI SEO. And if you're watching this at a later date, it may already be out. And that will go over basically everything that you need to cover to make sure you're showing up in those answers. But like I said, doing Reddit will get you a little bit of the way there, but it doesn't cover everything that you need to do to make sure that not only you get in those AI answers, but that you actually stay there for the long term. But like I said, Reddit will definitely get you, in Google's, AI overviews and AI answers, just because Google is like so heavily, focused on pushing up Reddit results. And at the end of the day, I feel like Reddit marketing is one of those things that people really should have always been doing, right? Because it's just part of normal brand building, right? You want to be everywhere with your brand. So why wouldn't you be marketing your brand on Reddit? Because there are bound to be people there who are going to, be your ideal target, for your ideal audience for whatever product it is that you're promoting or service or whatever that you're promoting. So it should be something that you keep doing. You should have already been doing it. If you're not, today is a great day to start doing it. And it should be a part of whatever you're doing for any new projects that you do start, new brands that you do start. Because like I said, it is just a natural part of brand building. And it just comes with the side benefit of getting you, and all of these AI answers and AI overviews, these LLMs, as well as helping you, get more traffic immediately, basically because Reddit is showing up at the top of the results. So that's pretty much everything you need to know, I feel like, when it comes to doing Reddit marketing on your own or for clients. If you need any help with that, if you've got any questions, feel free to drop those in the comments below. If you feel like it's too much for you to handle and you want someone to take over and do it for you or your brand, this is a service that we've been offering to clients at my agency. So feel free to reach out to see if we are a good fit to work with you. We're using just over 300 aged accounts right now that we have controlled from the very beginning. So we have a great track record of success with those accounts, and we are continuing to grow more Reddit accounts. So basically we do not run out of accounts that we can use to help brands, get better visibility, both in organic search as well as in AI.